Hi, this is Greg Koopman. Today I'm going to talk about the Dark Sky Weather API and how to access data out of that API for your data warehouse. Basically, we're going to go over to the Dark Sky website and get a free account to test this out to their API. So we have to sign up for that. I'm going to show you how to do that, and then we're going to run one of their samples, which is right online, and we're going to see how the data comes back. We will then discuss a history example where we pull the data from a date 6 months earlier than the current date, and also we're going to check out how to determine latitude, longitude of the location we're looking for, as well as what the epoch time parameter means. Okay, so here we are in my web browser. We're going to go ahead and go to Dark Sky Weather. Now, I had also looked at some other weather websites and tried a few of them, and Dark Sky seemed to have the most simplistic model, and it was the easiest one for me to program against. I'd written some XML against another one, but their format, I had to kind of jury rig their format to make sure the XML was in good shape. So anyways, Dark Sky seemed to fit the bill. It gave me history, so I could go back for my client 4 years, and I could go back many more years than that, but I could go back 4 years and get history, temperatures and precipitation all the way back for each day for all the different locations I was looking for. So anyways, let's just go to Dark Sky and get moving on this. So Google Dark Sky Weather, and there it is. So here's Dark Sky Weather, right? Well, anyways, here it is. So kind of a nice little website for the regular user, but for developing an app, an API, we go to Dark Sky API. And it says try it for free, so that looks good. So let's go ahead and sign it up. I'll log in, takes it. Now, this is very, very important. It gives you a key access, an API key. And that key, you have to have that in order to send messages to the site, to the API. And without it, you can't, because eventually that's how they bill you. Okay, but I think you get, I don't know, you must get 30 days because I'm still have a subscription on here. So, but the billing is very, very not much. It doesn't cost much. It doesn't seem to. So for every call you make to their API, I think it's like 0.001 cent. So added up, I think you get at least 100 calls for a penny, or something like that, or 1,000 calls for a penny. So anyways, let's just take this. Remember this. Here's my API key, and that's per day. So you actually at your first 100 or 1,000 per day, you get free, and that covers a lot of people, a lot of businesses. If you go more than that per day, then you have to, then it goes against your credit card at a very small amount. But it's very, very good pricing, it seems to me, or at least acceptable. So I'm just going to save that key right here. All right, for safekeeping. So that's how the trial works here. Some sample API code. So here's a sample API, right, that they give you. So this is how you're going to call. This is what I like about it. To call it, I don't have to create a SOAP or anything like that. I'm not a real high-level programmer. I'm a low-level. I can low-level C# programming, but high-level it gets much more time-consuming than maybe it's worth. So I look for the easiest answer. So I'm looking at this guy, and I said, okay. So this is their example. So let me just explain to you what this is. So here's your HTTPS. Here's your Dark Sky Net. Okay, there's your, and here's the API key they're using, which has to be at the first position every time, right? And that's how, again, they track you. Now, what is 37.8267 and negative 122.4233? Well, that is your longitude, latitude of the location you're looking for. Okay. So look a little further here. What we have is billing information right here. It talks about as we just discussed. It tells you about You know, if you want to go full time, you know, if you want to really buy this service, then you put your credit card number in. All right, and then you also have documentation. So these are all the different ways you can use the API to get information back. Okay, so you click on that, and it shows you different weather, you know, what weather conditions it's going to come back with, the API calls, and the types. So you have a forecast request and a time machine request. Now, what I use is a time machine request because I have to go back 4 years and get the history. So if you go in there, it pops to another sample, right? Or it gives you the syntax, and explains the parameters you send in. So in this case, you send in your key like before, your latitude like before, longitude, and that time value. Okay, so then it shows an example request, which you don't have to. This is what comes back. Okay, we're going to go through that. And request parameters. So you can read through this if you want to get more information on everything. But what I do, I actually just needed to use one URL format, and that was giving me everything I needed. Okay, it was really simple. So as long as I didn't have to, you know, become a weather channel myself, it was pretty easy. And all I was trying to do was come back with the temperature by hour, historical, and different locations where there are different stores were located, and that worked really well. And also it would give back that icon, like, you know, say what is snow, like that was like a summary field, and then like a more descriptive, it would say mostly cloudy. So okay, so let's go back over to let's go back from the documentation back to our example. And so they also, and you see, they also even give you a little example here, which is pretty cool. So if you just click on that, you'll see it'll show you the current day's temperature for whatever that latitude longitude was. I give them the example, but in that case, it's not necessarily a Los Angeles. It just gives you a time zone. So that would be like Western time in U.S. But that could be, you could be maybe in, I'm not sure where that would be, but maybe let's say Phoenix, Arizona might be on Western time. So you might actually be in Phoenix, which is the latitude, longitude. Los Angeles might be not, it's just giving you, it should say really, I think, Western time or Central time or Eastern zone time. But it gives you just a big city in that area. So, anyways, so that's, you recognize that. The other thing that it does, okay, so let's just look through this a little bit. So you got, let me just, so this is JSON code, okay, and I'm no big JSON expert at all, but I made this work for me, which is really cool. So here it shows currently, and that's exactly what it is. It's right at this moment, okay. So at this moment, temperature over on the West Coast is 56 degrees, 67. Really nice as always, probably mostly over there. And, well, in California anyways. And some other information, pressure, humidity, that kind of, humidity is pretty low. So all that kind of information. Then your minutes for that current hour that's happening. So again, you're in mostly cloudy, partly cloudy. So you can see each minute of that hour that you're in. Okay, and then you go a little further, and it gives you the hourly. So each hour that it's been in, that it's been collected for that day. All right, so that's how that works. So the 8th hour, 8 o'clock in the morning, etc. What we get here, let me just point out a couple things that aren't as obvious at first. It will be obvious to you though. This number here, that doesn't look like your normal time, right? Well, what that is called an epoch timestamp. An epoch timestamp is a number of seconds that have existed since January 1st, 1970, and that's the number of seconds since then. So if we look at that number, we go over to this converter, which is a little website. You can see it says counting up the seconds right here, right? As you look at it. So if I want to convert number a 1, if this number was 1, and I hit timestamp, it would show, just like I said, January 1st, 1970, 12:01. Greenwich Mean Time. Now that's Greenwich Mean Time right here. Your own time zone, well, in this case, I'm in Dallas, so my time zone is 6 hours difference at this point of the year. Daylight savings time, it might be, I am in daylight savings time, so in January when it's not daylight savings time, it might be more like 5 o'clock. It's 5 hours difference. So you have to take that into consideration in your programming. But let's say we take the current date that's on that JSON file, and we do timestamp, convert it. We click here, and we see it's July 1st, 2018 at 1:48 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, but we're at 7:48 a.m. Dallas time, so area to understand it better. But anyways, let's go back to the data. When you're calculating the, you have to calculate, when you go back like 30 days, you have to send it the parameter. In this scenario, it says for the current day, so you don't send that extra parameter. If I wanted to send a parameter for a different day, right, I have to calculate my day. I would add that to the end of this, and that's in that documentation. Okay, so this is for today, right? But if I went back, a long time, quite a bit, let's say 29, I don't know, let's see, let's go back to somewhere in, let's go back to somewhere like 6 months ago. So 6 months ago would indicate, based on this evaluation here, website tells us that if I want to go back a month, I need to go back this many seconds, right? A year, this many seconds. So I want to go back this many seconds times 6, so I can get a much cooler temperature, right? Of course, you do this programmatically, and I multiply that by 6, so it'd be 15,000, right? So if I took that and I subtracted it from this bigger number, take this number and subtract that from here, I get a remainder here, right? So that, if I take the positive part of that, let's see if I can copy that and stick that in here, I should get somewhere in January, right? That should be, I think that's going to be January now. Take out the negative. Now let's look at the temperature. Temperature 59 degrees. It must be California. It's always good weather there, right? Let me change it our latitude, longitude to Dallas time. Okay, so let's just go over here and define your latitude, longitude. You'll just say something like, I'll type in my zip code, which is near Dallas, Arlington, Texas, and I'll say latitude. And it will just give me the latitude, longitude. So here's 32. This is 32. So I'm going to paste that in to my URL. So it's at 37. I want to say 32, right? And then we're going to take this 97. Type that in here. Right? And now we have the whole temperature. This will be for December, like back in December. So let's just look at that number that I converted, see if my conversion was appropriate. So I'm just going to go up into my Epic time converter. Look at it, and see December 30th, 2017. So that gives me some sort of a, yeah, so that's about 6 months ago. So we're going to go ahead and run that. Oh, actually, we did run that. No, we didn't run that yet. So you see where I'm in the central zone, which, so they show America, Chicago, which is central zone. And the temperature, the temperature is 37 degrees. Pretty cold day, December 30th in Dallas. That was, yeah. So if we go through the rest of the day, we look at the, and here you go right into hours. You know, they don't give you the minutes because you're not in current time. So as you look at the day, the temperatures here, there's 46 in the middle of the night. So if we go down during the day when the sun comes out, this one got colder. So it must have been a pretty cold day. 34, wow, it was a cold day on December 30th. Okay, and actually we can go check that out. Now I haven't been able to find a dark sky where I can find the history. So if I want to go look at the history over, I know over in underground weather underground rather, that one does give me the history. So I cheat and I go over there. And I'll go ahead and look at the history over there. I think it's Wonderground. Okay, so here's underground weather, or weather underground rather. And I'll go into more, and they have a history. Okay, so they have a historical weather, right? So if I go to historical weather, I type in that zip code. And I look down at Arlington, Texas. And I say December 30th, 2017. And I view. My number should be pretty close to what Dark Sky has for that. So it looks like they're giving us temperature here, 46. And then, yeah, you see how it dropped just like I was indicating in my data. So it was a 46 for the first 6 hours. I went to 45, and it actually got colder as the day went on. So you see it was 34 by 11. So as our indication here, where did it go? Right, so as the day, we started the day at hour 0, right? And apparent temperature was 46, or temperature 46, so it stayed around 46 until around 7, then it started dropping 45. Then at 12, it was 44. Later in the day, 31. Okay, this got kept on getting colder. It's one of those days. Okay, now, okay, so that's how that works. Okay, now you also have to take into account that this is Greenwich Mean Time. This is not Dallas time. So if I put in 000, this number, yeah, that's 0 time of the day, Greenwich, in Greenwich, but in Dallas it's not. So if I put that number in, timestamp, as you see, it's Saturday. Greenwich Mean Time is 6. I'm sorry. It does give us the right one. So in Greenwich Mean Time it's 6, but in our time zone is 12 a.m. So that is the right time. It recognizes that. Okay. But when I send in my time, so what that means is when I program this thing to pull all the history data, I've got to offset that number by where my time zone is. So I know that in Dallas it's about 5 hours difference between that, is 5 hours difference between that and Greenwich Mean Time. and during daylight savings time, I believe it's 6 hours difference. So you have to get those charts, and in order that when you push in this timestamp, you're pushing in the right timestamp for your time zone. Otherwise, your numbers will be off. That will conclude part 1 of this video series. Go ahead and check out the part 2 of this series, which discusses the technical details of how to bring this into SQL Server database tables using SSIS. Thank you for watching.